Hey everybody! So I know it's been a while since I've recorded again for you guys, but it's been busy and life just with this pandemic. We hope it gets over soon, but it's not looking like it's going to be over anytime soon. So I have a couple of deck profiles that I'm going to share with you today. You might be asking where my normal wolf paws are. Well, they're not really useful for handling cards, so I literally had to go outside and relieve someone of their arms who didn't need their hands so I could borrow them. Do not worry, I gave them a suitable set of hands to cover up the ones that I stole for them. So for these are my human hands. So this video we're going to be going over a deck that I should have posted a long time ago but never got around to. It is my Dragonic Vanquisher standard deck profile. This deck is incredibly insane, produces a lot of chain attacks, can bind your opponent's field, and take away their rear guards, forcing them to not only have to guard all your attacks, which can be 7 to 8 or even 9 if you can get that much in play, but also having to replenish their field while also having to guard, which makes it very hard to go up against, and can really lead to some very frustrating matchups, especially against other non-Excel decks. So anyway, guys, let's go straight into this. So, first off, we have our starting Vanguard, our Harbinger Draco Kid. I just liked his art a little bit better, so I decided to go with Harbinger. Then, pretty much as we know now, and also when you ride on your starting Vanguard, you will draw a card. However, now that quick shield tickets are a thing, you will also, if you are going second, you will add a quick shield token to your hand, giving you an extra card with a 5k one-time guard, which is nice. So there is that. Do remember that there were some people that messaged me that asked if you don't have a starter that says fetch the quick shield ticket, that it is understood now that all starters have that second line of text saying that if your opponent is on grade 1, when you ride on top of your starter, you get the quick shield. So just keep that in mind. For trigger lineup, 7 crit. Normally I don't have my crits splayed out like this, but these are literally the only 7 crits for Narukami that I had. I could have swore that I had a playset of this one, but I don't know where they went. So, 7 crit. 4 draw PGs, obviously, and then just 1 regular draw. You want to be able to draw into your combo pieces. This is a very this is a very high combo-oriented deck, so you want to be able to draw into those pieces like your Vanquisher and your other rear guards that help you set up your board and get your nonsense rolling. And then, of course, we got our 4 heal triggers, because heal triggers. So 7 crit, 5 draw, 4 heal. I have tested 6-6. 6-6 does work, but I just like having 7-5. That's just a pretty consistent trigger lineup for me. Next, 4 Mighty Bolt Dragoon. So when this card is wrote as the Vanguard or placed, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck for a grade 3. If there's a grade 3 there, put it into your hand and then discard 1 card. And then his other ability is if you bind a rear guard during your turn, he becomes a 13k power unit, so he can be a 13k power attacker, which doesn't happen a lot, but maybe in late game you might stick him in an Excel circle, and he can then hit 18 or 23, depending on which Excel you go with. And then if Vanquisher skills live, then he can get pretty big too. But usually he's being used as a 13k booster, and you use him to dig for your Vanquisher or your Jaggy. So. Then for probably one of the most broken cards in this deck is for Rising Phoenix. So this card is absolutely insane. Anytime that a card is bound and this card is present in your drop zone, you may Superior Call it back to the field and have it gain 3k power. Really insane because you can have 3 of these in your field and then just
spam 4 of them out. I've seen it happen, and I've done it. It's insane. This card is absolutely... this card makes this deck because you can guard with it early, and it sets up a rear guard for later. It's just a very, very good card, and should definitely be run at 4 in any Narukami deck. And next, we're playing 4 copies of Desert Gunner Bajan. I really haven't figured out how to say this, but I think it's Bajan. So he has 2 effects. First is when it's bound from the hand during your turn, you can call it to rear guard. So when you use Vanquisher skill and it says you both bind a card in your hand, if you bind this, you can call it. So you technically aren't really losing anything. And then his other ability is when he's placed, when placed, if any player's card was bound this turn, you get to soul charge 1. So, you know, it's... I really, other than, there's not a whole lot of cards in my deck that require a, quote, Soul Blast, so that's really not here or there. He's mainly in here just for getting another attacker out. So, and then I actually tech 1 copy of Dragon Dancer Anastasia. I really like this card. I wish there was more room for it, just because I like weird cards like this that have a good effect but can be used really well if you know how. If you can just, you know, position it right. Her ability is continuous. When she's in the Guardian Circle, if your opponent's bind zone is 3 or more cards, it gets plus 5k, so it guards for 15 as a grade 1, which is really good. And then her other skill is when this unit is, when your other unit is attacked, Soul Blast 1 and move her to the Guardian Circle. So you can call her to the field, and then if you need to, you can Soul Blast 1 and move her up to guard. So really good card, only 1, but you need your Mighty Bolts. You're not going to cut Rising Phoenix. I have thought about maybe cutting Bajan to 3 and putting in a second Anastasia, but I don't know. You just really want these cards if bound. So it's just unfortunate that I can only play 1 because I really do like this card. Grade 2s. 4 copies of Demonic Dragon Berserker Chadra. Chadra is easily our best grade 2 unit. First, his ability is when he attacks a Vanguard, you may Soul Blast 1. When his attack hits a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1 and draw a card, and then choose one of your opponent's front or rear guards and bind it. Which, you know, it's there from time to time, but his other ability that he's really good for. When he's bound from the hand during your turn, you may call this unit to the rear guard, and then if called, this unit gets plus 10k until end of turn. So you bind him out, you call him in, he goes to 18, he hits Excel 1, he becomes instantly 28. Excel 2, he becomes 23, and then if Vanquisher skill's alive, he's going to gain another 10 on top of those numbers. So this card is just absolutely insane and can really apply major pressure. Next, a card that I was a little unsure about, but it's a card that you really don't understand how well it affects your game until you play it. His name, I believe, it's pronounced Voltshred Dragon. Very simple card. When he's on the rear guard and he attacks, if you have a Dragonic Vanquisher Vanguard, you Soul Blast 1, draw a card, and then bind a card from your hand. But the reason he's really good is you can use him to set up a Chadra or a Bajan. So he can help set up just for another attack, and he helps filter your hand a little bit. So he's really, really good, and he helps you get a bind, because sometimes you might be in a pinch to get that 3rd bound card, so he helps you do that. 2 copies of Supreme Army Eradicator Zuitan. Zuitan. It's when your opponent's rear guard is bound during your turn, all of your units named Gauntlet Buster and this guy gain 5k power, whether they're on the rear guard or the Vanguard. But we don't play Gauntlet Buster in this deck, so basically whenever you bind a unit, he's going to gain 5k. So he will get bigger. But he's a really good unit because he also, for his second skill, is at the end of the battle that he attacks, a Vanguard and your opponent's front row has no rear guards, which is going to happen almost every turn, you can put this card into your soul and draw a card. So he gives you another draw, and which is really good because you'll need to replenish your hand and to be able to just continue to fill your board with pieces. And then finally, we play 2 copies of Fiendish Sword, Eradicator Cho-Oh. Cho-Oh's at 2 on the new restriction list. I'm really not so sure I necessarily agree with it. He is a really good card, but I don't know. I don't know if he was a problematic card enough to be restricted to 2. That's just my opinion. But he is. But to be honest, I would only be able to fit 2 in this deck anyway, because I don't think I would cut both Zuitam for 2 more Cho-Oh. I just don't. So, Vanguard rearguard skill, when placed, counterblast 1, choose a column and bind one of your opponent's front row rearguards in that column, and then move the back row rearguard to the front. And then once a turn, at the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, if your opponent's front row has no rearguards, counterblast 1 and stand this unit. So you can use him to basically get 2 attacks, and if you know. Usually if you do kick that off, it's on your first or second ride of grade 3, so you'll have at least 2 Excel circles in play, so you can get a pretty decent number of attacks, and by that time, he's also going to be getting a 10k bonus for being in the front row from Vanquisher. So then, simply for the grade 3s, this part is no surprise at all, is we play 4 copies of Jaggy Shot Dragoon. Jaggy Shot Dragoon is absolutely insane. His first skill, Vanguard or Rearguard, whenever he attacks a Vanguard, you can bind a card from your hand and then choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards and bind it. And if your opponent has no front row rearguards, you draw a card. And then at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, if your Vanguard is Dragonic Vanquisher, put him into your soul and draw a card. So this card is so good for so many reasons. He lets you draw. You are essentially going to draw 2 cards, filtering away 1. If he's on the rear guard and Vanquisher is your Vanguard, and you can actually get Vanquisher's skill live on your first grade 3 ride, which is absolutely insane because of this card, because if he runs to the soul, which is insane. And then, obviously, for our key grade 3 unit is we play our 4 copies of Dragonic Vanquisher, because he is our boss monster, he is our finisher. Obviously, Vanguard, during your turn, if you have a total of 3 or more cards that have been bound this turn, all of your front row units gain plus 10k. That 3 cards bound could be cards between both you and your opponent, or just your opponent, or just you, it doesn't matter. And then his other skill is what helps this deck out so much. Once per turn, you can counterblast 1, choose one of any player's front row rearguards and bind it. Then if your soul has a grade 3, you and your opponent choose a card from your hand and bind it. So, if you have a counterblast, and you have Vanquisher as your Vanguard, and you have another grade 3 in the soul, he alone gets his other skill live, and gives plus 10k to the front row, which will give to your normal 2 front row rearguards and all your Excel circles. So, you know, depending on which Excel you go into, usually it's Excel 2 because you want to be able to draw that card and just be able to keep your deck flowing. There are some games where if my opponent gets grade stuck, I will go just to Excel 1 just to beat him down and get the game over with. Some Force clans, if they end their turn and they have a very low hand count, say if they were to go to grade 3 first, going to Excel 1 will apply a lot of pressure. So it's really just kind of the moment which determines which Excel you go to. But I think it's fair to say it's 70-30 where I go to Excel 2 first, 70% of the time over Excel 1. So anyway, guys, like I said, I know this deck has been out a while. I mean, I think this came back in set 8. Wait, no, VBT 12. Wow. So anyway, sorry that I hadn't had this up. I have played with this a lot. I really enjoy this deck. If Team League wasn't canceled this year, this is what I was going to be playing. Vanquisher is so much fun to play. He is very much still a threat. I think he will still be a threat even next year just because of his ability to continually wipe the board. I think he will be able to hang with the newer decks that are coming out. So anyway, guys, in the comment section below, please feel free to leave your comment suggestions for other videos, deck profiles that you may see. I hope you really enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time.